Good morning, it's Sunday, August 21st, and looks like we have another significant severe weather threat developing for the northern mid-Atlantic. This is the surface map from the Severe Prediction Center, an excellent source of data and surface information to use ahead of a severe weather event. As you can see, we have a weak cold front moving through the Great Lakes and a prefrontal trough setting up over central Pennsylvania. And between those two areas, we have an area of thunderstorms and heavy rain. Right now, this is not severe, but I think what I'm going to show you will convince you that we're heading towards a severe event. First of all, the mid-level lapse right here, clearly it's not as unstable as you'd want to have it for a severe event, but still early and there's still pockets of instability in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. Right now I would say this is marginally unstable, but notice when the showers and thunderstorms get lifted, the atmosphere rapidly becomes unstable at the mid-levels because the dry air aloft becomes evaporational cooling. As a result, the atmosphere becomes rapidly unstable. So I think that the mid-levels are going to become more and more unstable as we move through the afternoon and evening hours. And that takes us to the low-level instability, which is already starting to build. Again, it's only 7:58 a.m. in the morning, so I wouldn't expect significant instability, but I do think it's going to start to get rather warm out there. And with temperatures in the upper 80s and high levels of humidity, instability is likely. But the key factor that's different from the other severe events from the past few days is that we're definitely developing wind shear. As a result, with this wind shear, you got a higher potential for turning in the atmosphere, and that turning allows for supercell thunderstorms, the development of large hail, because you have stronger lifting within the thunderstorm, and yes, even an isolated tornado. So it's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on as we move forward. And just to kind of give an idea of the strength of this cold front, you can see the significant drop in the humidity behind the main cold front here, where dew points are falling off rapidly into the lower to mid 50s. As you can see, the value right here, lower to mid 50s, lower 70s. Pretty big difference. So you can see here this is a pretty strong cold front and one that means business. Now, one factor we're going to keep an eye on moving forward is the ability for these low clouds to clear out. What we have here, the sun's rising, so we can actually see the sun rising on the visible satellite picture. I'm going to stop this right here, and you can see a lot of low clouds setting up over the northern mid-Atlantic. I'm expecting these clouds to burn off, but if they take a little bit longer, then that means the lower levels are going to have a longer time, a shorter time, should I say, to destabilize. So the longer these low clouds hang around, the less chance you have for severe weather. But all indications suggest that these low clouds are going to break up by around 10 to 11 a.m. and the atmosphere is going to rapidly warm up. And when that happens, watch out, because that's going to be fuel for these thunderstorms. At the water vapor, you know I love using the water vapor. You could see our cold front, our main cold front here. You can see the strong upper level disturbance associated with this cold front diving through the Great Lakes. So what I'm expecting is that this strong lifting is going to dive to the southeast through the Great Lakes and towards the northern Mid-Atlantic over the next 12 hours, igniting strong to severe thunderstorms initially over central New York and north central Pennsylvania that will dive to the southeast towards the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan area. Now, I'm sure you noticed this portion right here. What is this, you might ask? That is our new tropical storm. Tropical Storm Irene. Now, Tropical Storm Irene is currently located right about here. Let's see. Yeah, 62 north. Yep, right about here. And you can see we have a lot of convection. I'm going to pause this right here. There, and you can see here's our low-level center. And you can see a lot of convection wrapping around the low-level center. Now, there's a little bit of dry air wrapping into Irene, but I think that's going to eventually get kicked out of the system, evacuated, and as a result, these thunderstorms will start to wrap around. And really, the atmosphere is very favorable for further development and intensification of Irene. I would not be surprised if Irene becomes a hurricane to the south of Puerto Rico rather than to the south of Hispaniola. Now, One little point I want to just make here is that Irene's moving a little bit further north than the forecasted track. You see Irene's here, and the forecasted track is through here. Now, if Irene continues to develop and nudge a little bit further north, well, it might just bypass all these islands. And if that's the case, then we're dealing with a much more significant tropical system than even what the model guidance is currently suggesting, because it doesn't have to move through all this high terrain. So it's going to be something that we're going to have to watch. The latest National Hurricane Center forecast discussion did mention the fact that Irene's low-level center redeveloped further to the north towards the stronger convection in the latest recon flight, and really they haven't updated their forecast track as a result of that, and that is a bit concerning, because if this track is further north, well, I'll show you in a minute what happens in the forecast guidance. So let's move to the GFS model guidance here. Now this is from the Penn State EWOL website. Now, it's not too far different from the European model guidance. They're pretty much one and the same as far as the forecast for the next couple of days. Pretty strong agreement for the most part. Now, here we are this afternoon. You can see our strong trough. Now, the best lifting of dynamics will clearly be focused over parts of central New York, but because of all the instability and wind shear, we're going to have a chance for severe weather further south towards the northern Mid-Atlantic. But one aspect to keep an eye on is that if this strong lifting really enhances the thunderstorms over the Mohawk River Valley, that might weaken the thunderstorms over central and eastern Pennsylvania, and thus not make it that much of a severe event for the northern Mid-Atlantic. It's something we're going to keep an eye on moving forward for this afternoon. But for the most part, you can see our cold front moving through, our showers and thunderstorms all over the place for Sunday evening. So if you have any plans this evening, I would suggest bringing an umbrella with you. And then overnight tonight, that cold front moves through. Again, now if the main line, the main thunderstorm line moves through tonight, then we're dealing with a different setup here, because the atmosphere is not as unstable. So we'll end up with strong to isolated severe thunderstorms, still thunderstorms capable of strong wind gusts, but they won't be as intense because the atmosphere won't be as unstable. So it's going to be something, again, we got to watch, we're going to keep an eye on. I'll have live updates through the day should severe thunderstorms start to develop in a rapid fashion. Moving forward, after this cold front moves through, high pressure is going to be in control for much of this coming week. Actually, it's going to be pretty nice this week. Temperatures near normal. Humidity is going to be low for the first 3 days of the work week. So if you have any days off, go out and just enjoy them, because it's going to be beautiful out. Clear skies, dry conditions, obviously, low humidity, and temperatures comfortable. But as you can see to your bottom right, we have an area of low pressure. What is this? This is Irene, and this is what I was talking about. If Irene is actually further north than what the model guidance is suggesting, then we're going to be dealing with a slightly more significant problem here, because as we jump forward into Friday afternoon, high pressure is still in control. We're fine, but Irene is slamming into the Florida coast. Now I'll push this track a little bit further north, and you have it more towards South and North Carolina. And by the way, it will be over the very warm waters of the Gulf Stream, which would make Irene a much more intense tropical low pressure system. At this point, based on the pressure forecast here, this would be a major hurricane. And again, if it's over the Gulf Stream, then it could be even stronger than what we're suggesting here. So it's definitely going to be something that we're going to keep on watching. And then moving forward, now the remnants of Irene, or Irene itself, is going to be able to move up the East Coast because of our upper level pattern. We have a strong ridge in the Atlantic. We have an upper level trough approaching the Great Lakes. That means that Irene, or whatever's left of Irene, is going to be funneled up the East Coast through the Mid-Atlantic and towards the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan area. Regardless of whether Irene is a hurricane or not, it's going to be capable of producing a lot of rainfall. And considering that most locations are 600% above normal or higher, that is going to produce a lot of problems with flash flooding for next weekend. We're looking at late Saturday night through Sunday, possibly into Monday, of tropical heavy rain. So if you are living by a river or a small stream or locations that tend to just flood easily from bad drainage, like in New York City, for example. Just be prepared. Be prepared for a very heavy rain event next week and what you would normally do for precautions for flash flooding, because this is going to be a type of setup here that quite frankly can lead to not only obviously hurricane damage along the southeast coast, but flash flooding problems throughout the northern mid-Atlantic, especially if you're in northeastern Pennsylvania, northwestern New Jersey, where orographic lifting can really enhance this rainfall and produce rainfall amounts of 10, 12, 13 inches of rain. It's happened before, and it will happen again. So we're going to keep an eye on that, and I will have the latest on that potential as we move forward through the week. Again, we're going to have severe weather coverage later on this afternoon and evening, should severe thunderstorms start to develop. Trust in NYNJPA weather for the latest analysis and forecasts.